So when one mentions the name Andrew W.K, most music fans would usually associate it with his seminal album I Get Wet, which came out over 10 years ago. The hits Party Hard and She Is Beautiful spawned a cult-like fan of rock and metal fans dressed in complete white, ready to worship Andrew W.K at his party altar. Well, over 10 years later, where is he now? He's still releasing records, he appears in movies and television, he's a motivational speaker, and he's come tonight to Toronto's Hard Luck Bar to perform a very special solo show.
Tonight we party! Hello everybody! It's time to party! Let's party! Hang out with yourself and have a crazy party! Hey you, let's party!
But there's a lot about Andrew W.K that you might not know, including a cult of people who think that he's not even the real Andrew W.K. His cult has spread out over the internet and around the world to people that don't think he even really exists.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
All right, I'm here backstage at the Glamorous Hard Luck with my good friend Mr. Andrew W.K. How you doing right now?
Doing very nicely. Coming down, obviously.
Yeah.
Processing, absorbing. It's not a bad feeling, actually. It's euphoria.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about this before, how there's a lot of people out there who say that you do not exist, that you're an imposter, you're an actor, you don't exist, and, like, you know, we've investigated this before. Like, we think you're very corporeal, but
I'm tangible.
Yeah, you're tangible. And so here's the question that I have. You know, there's like conspiracy Illuminati website about you, about these, like, how you're not yourself. You know, and what does that give you a feeling to be able to inspire? Like, that's where they think that you are your own conspiracy, you're your own Illuminati, like, you know, secret Zionist conspiracy type thing. Like, does that? In a way, to me, that would make me feel good that my mythology could inspire as much crazy as it would, you know, positivity. You know what I mean by that?
Somewhat. I know. I think I'm familiar with some of the things that you mentioned. The best I could say is that the biggest conspiracy out there for anybody, for anything,
right,
is the conspiracy that any of us exist.
Mm-hmm.
So wrestle with that for 10 minutes.
And where our existence goes from there. But that's a giant metaphysical debate for another giant metaphysical time, perhaps. But, you know, to me, it goes hand in hand with this sort of, the way people treat Andrew W.K, because there's almost, I was just having this discussion the other day, it's almost like a thing with the Sex Pistols or Rage Against the Machine, where, you know, you have these songs that people have heard repetitively over and over again, but it becomes more about the person and what the person has to offer, and as opposed to most people where, you know, they're the vehicles for their songs. I mean, the songs, I think, since I Get Wet came out, have become, you know, a vehicle for you and what you have to say. You think that's true?
I think it is, and that question, I have two thoughts. First, are you wearing a fruit-flavored cologne?
No, not today, I'm afraid, no. You know,
are you wearing...
Chris, you got a fruit-flavored cologne on?
I smell Starburst or...
Orange Tic Tacs.
Orange Tic Tacs in his pocket.
But that, you must have like
There's
a
no
crazy
way
sense
that...
of smell.
well, my sense of smell has been elevated lately. I ate a scorpion pepper.
Okay. Is that like a ghost pepper?
I think it's several levels hotter than that.
Okay, then, yes.
So I've been processing that, and it did affect my sense of smell, which I would not have expected. I thought, well, my digestion has been quite disrupted by it. And my second thought on that question, so Arnold initially had this amazing body.
Arnold
right?
Schwarzenegger, yeah.
Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger had an amazing body, and he looked great, and of course, anyone could tell he was charismatic and charming and well-spoken and very witty and very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But then he took that body and used it to do all kinds of stuff, where by the end of the day, or by now, you are more interested in just the fact that he exists at all than you are in his body per se. So maybe that's what I could say. Is some of these folks they use their initial effort as an entry point,
right,
to introduce themselves to you,
right.
Much like inviting you to a party.
It's a party. It's not a show.
Please have a shot. So if someone is very nice and you're excited about them and they're excited about you and they want to hang out with you and have some fun, then you get to spend a lot of time with them during your life, and these become sort of partners or friends, even if you never meet them.
Yeah,
they're there. They're in your thoughts, and what's most interesting is that you're in their thoughts too. Mm-hmm. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger has thought about you.
I hope so. I really do. I tried to get close, but it didn't work out as well as I hoped it would be.
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised. Well, I tried to send as much positivity as I can towards him, and as much as you send towards other people. And it's funny you mentioned like your entry point. I Get Wet was your entry point, and you played a lot of songs from I Get Wet tonight.
That's right.
And and we talked about that's what like people really dwell on that record, like the first Sex Pistols
almost
album.
Slipped into the Arnold.
Well,
you notice that?
People really dwell on that record, like the Sex Pistols record or the Rage Against the Machine, and so like
wow.
If people and you're so prolific, you make a lot of different music. Yeah, you hear it still. You make a lot of different tunes, But does it bother you that people still want to be into that?
Of course not.
No.
Do you think Arnold doesn't like Pumping Iron or Conan? Do you think that? You never know with Johnny Rotten. Who knows?
Who knows what he likes?
John Lydon is he's very contradictory, and he likes to go against his own grain. With the Rage Against the Machine, that's a more tricky example because, I personally feel very strongly about that first record still.
But I think that those bands or Sex Pistols or the first Rage Against the Machine album, they could go away for years and they could come back and play those exact same songs and they would not have worn out their welcome. And the thing about you, and that no matter how much you write, I Get Wet has not worn out its welcome, and Party Hard and She Is Beautiful have not worn out their welcome.
I'm trying to make all these other great songs, and no one wants to hear them at all.
But people do buy your albums. It's just
I don't really care. It's like saying, well, salt and pepper were there, and then we're going to create a new spice called cardamom. And people are like, well, I still really like salt and pepper. Mm-hmm. No, just use cardamom. These are all tools. They're flavors. They're ways to get to a good feeling.
Yeah.
So to think that I had any hand in offering an entry point or a tool or a method to get to a good flavor, a good taste, a good feeling about being alive, you're not going to say like, well, no. I have a new flavor now.
Right.
It's called chipotle.
Right.
And forget salt, forget pepper. Chipotle is the thing. These all have their values, and I'm not going to judge each one. You just hope that you can have that opportunity to make someone feel good. And Salt and Pepper is a great group.
So what? Yes, they are, and they push it almost every day. And what would you say to an artist or a musician or a singer who really resents having to play their hit from 10 years ago? What would you say to that person?
I'm just very puzzled by that. I'm interested in it. I would never judge them because who knows what it's like for them. But I remember Lemmy, of course, from Motorhead talking about not wanting to play Ace of Spades, and Michael Stipe and R.E.M. always complained about playing, Stand, and there's so many other groups, and I don't know. But who am I to judge them? I don't know if they don't like that song that much. I happen to like the songs that I made.
Sure.
So it's to teach their own. I'm just lucky that I enjoy playing my songs even more now than I did when I wrote them. That's the weirdest thing. I never would have guessed that.
One thing that is unchallenged is your positivity. So I'm not, that's not up for debate in any way, shape, or form. So, everyone can have a bad moment, when they're by themselves. and you can break down, you can be upset, and you can do stuff, and that's a perfectly appropriate time to do that. So because you're so positive and people want to challenge that, how do you I guess, how have you never blown up in public? Not once. How have you ever not flipped someone off? I've not come across an instance in public where you've lost your cool. How does that happen? How does that barrier come up between you?
It's out there.
Yeah.
Just do a little more research.
It's to me it's been pretty, it's not that well documented. You kept it hidden pretty well in that respect.
I don't even try to keep it hidden. I had opportunities to keep those kind of moments hidden, and I chose not to because I felt like that counted as well as a person being a human, and that people could relate to that. And I think that being alive in itself is a positive experience, and that you're not dead.
Yes.
Which is the negative version
yes.
of life. So I think that all those feelings count, and they all have their place, and they all have their value. And you reckon with them, and you grapple with them, and you deal with them, and you have them. And then you keep on going. So I try not to edit myself too much in that way. But I do try to stay cheerful just because it feels better.
Yeah. Last question, and you're really good at giving people advice, and you give a lot of advice.
Thank you very much.
And so I've never really asked you for any advice. I thought that I could, maybe ask you something that's been on my mind. Whether you know it or not, we shared a mutual friend in Dave Brockie, and he probably knew him a little bit better than I. But the last time I got to speak to him like this, like we're doing right now. And I got to sit down with him and talk about, like we are right now, his life and his band in excess and in detail, all the questions I've always wanted to ask him. And he painted this picture of someone had reached this level of ultra contentment and peacefulness, where he had achieved all these things and was so satisfied and had nothing negative to say. And it's been really rough for me to try to balance that, and I've been sort of walking around with tears behind my eyes the past couple of days. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry about that. I brought you there to that spot, but
I don't want. I know he would want me to be able to talk about this, but I just found out a few hours ago because I was traveling in the last two days.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's okay. I know he would be like, come on, wait.
Yeah. It's just like, I know that he was happy, and in that spot, but at the same time, we've been robbed of something, and like, how do you find the beauty in that? You know what I mean? As somebody who you always seem to have an answer for the impossible in these types of situations, and like, if you were to look outside yourself right now, as I've been unable to do, what would you think about that in that moment? How do we celebrate that without not being lost in the loss?
I think it's okay to feel just purely emotional about it, and if it's not that you're, sad, but that's how we would describe that feeling. I just feel really sad. And then you feel angry about it and confused about it, and then you also feel like he wouldn't want you to feel angry or confused or sad about it, so you try to be strong through it, and then you just feel confused about it. And I think that's the best way to feel about it, is that you don't need to know how to feel about it.
That's the human aspect.
Yeah, it's just very confusing, and I'm just glad that I got to spend any time with him at all. But this is real close to that, so I'm more. No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
I'm totally.
It's all right.
But I mean, I want to thank you for being candid about it with me, because I don't have too many people who knew him as well, and
I didn't know him that well. He was a hero of mine. He was one of those people that I was very inspired by from a very young age, many years before I ever got to meet him, or even would have dreamt that I would get to meet him, or play a show with him, or do anything. And I was starstruck even the last time I saw him, which was our fifth time doing anything together. He was to me one of the best of the best of the best, and I'm still processing the whole thing.
And he was the first interview I ever did, and he holds a special place in my heart. So maybe together we can dedicate this moment to him, and anybody else who's hurting from his loss right now, which is a ridiculously large amount of people. So
yeah, just stay very strong. And you know, of all people, he really would want us to just stay very strong and try to stay cheerful in, you know, a reasonable way. I'm not saying he would be sad, like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
No, I think he'd want a little bit of attention, yeah.
So just do it for Dave, you know?
And do it for Dave, and maybe help celebrate his life by checking out Andrew W.K. on the rest of his solo tour. And I want to thank you, as always, for being a gracious and candid individual.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you're doing.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks a lot.
And this song is also dedicated to Dave Brockie, Oderus Urungus, who passed away. We just found out today. So we'll say, I love Dave Brockie. Oh yeah, Dave Brockie.